This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Here at On the Stacks, we know the importance of using the right tools to deliver smooth results. Designed for performance, safety, and comfort, Manscaped is the complete package when it comes to men's below-the-waist grooming and care. The Lawnmower 4.0 is equipped with skin-safe technology, which helps reduce the risk of nicks and cuts so it's gentle enough on your most precious jewels. And because it's waterproof, you can trim the hedges come rain or shine. Not only does Manscaped have the finest trimming technology, but they also offer a full lineup of hygiene products to keep your boys dry and fresh all day long. When I find myself in a hairy situation and it's my balls on the line, I only trust Manscaped, and you should too. And that's why Manscaped is offering all On The Stacks listeners 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com when you use code STACKS20 at checkout. Again, that's manscaped.com to get 20% off plus free shipping. This episode is brought to you by Burn, the fitness company behind the Today Show approved Burn board. If I'm being honest, working out can be a real chore, especially as a new dad in desperate need of sleep and cardio. Burn is founded by NEPA native Jimmy T. Martin, and his Burn board offers a low-impact core and cardio experience unlike anything I've done before. They have hundreds of on-demand workouts that are great for beginners, seasoned athletes, and out-of-shape podcast hosts who love supporting small businesses. My wife and I use it pretty frequently throughout the week, and it's honestly a great way to burn a ton of calories without burning a ton of cash. Not to mention, it's a great tool for skiers, runners, wrestlers, and hockey players. Jimmy is offering all On The Stacks listeners 15% off when they use the code STACKS15. Visit theburn.com today to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15 at checkout. Again, that's theburn, THEBRRN.com to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15. It's time to get on board today with Burn. This episode is brought to you by Blue Door Financial. Blue Door Financial will help you save money and reduce taxes to live a fuller financial life. To learn more, visit Blue Door Financial online at BLUdoorfinancial.com. That's BLUdoorfinancial.com.
Couldn't even have a Coors Light, and we had 51 employees.
Yeah. So, all right. So you were 19 years old.
Yeah, that was when I took over as CFO.
And how did you
Power of the purse.
How did you figure it all out?
You could throw it in the fire your burn bill. It's the best way to do it. It's getting to the trenches and get wet and get kicked and get back up.
Oh yeah, whoa. Look, they can never keep me down, I'm going. And if I ever fail, just know I'll go again. I never quit, cause I know that every loss may lead to another win. I'm going up.
Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr. This is the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Rob Bresnahan Jr., President and CEO of Kuharchik Construction. What's up, podcast episode 100 of the On the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door studio. Welcome to the show, Rob. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Bill. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that giant traffic light in.
Yeah, it was quite the objective to get it through the front door, but I think we got it in, and I think you're going to be excited to see how those photos turn out.
Yeah, and didn't you say like we can even turn one of those into like a aesthetic light?
Sure. I actually have one I have one in my office at my house, and it's always a conversation piece, and it's actually like a remote for a vehicle. You can actually make it cycle through. You can go red, you can go green, you can go yellow. Maybe bars will use them. So it's a nice memento of what we do every day.
Yeah. Awesome. And also, before we really get into the episode here, this is our 100th episode. Big. Yeah. So, no pressure.
Never.
No pressure. First one on video. So we're probably going to screw it up like real bad. But we'll give it a go. So, but also, I have Eric Curtis in the studio with us today. I got to give a little shout out to, I nicknamed him ETP, which stands for Eric the Producer. So
ETP, he's in for a big one today.
He is. Yeah. He has no idea what he got himself into. I think he's highly regretting this. So
no, that face does not indicate any regret whatsoever.
But no, I want to acknowledge Eric and just give him a little shout out for helping me and putting up with my nonsense for the last I don't know how months we've been trying to get this up and running. But it is here, it is up and running, and now this show is going to be on YouTube. So people,
number 100.
Yeah, number 100.
Wow, did I draw like the short stick on this, or?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Butcher it.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a good time.
We are. All right. Well, let's jump into it. Where does the Rob Bresnahan story begin?
The Rob Bresnahan story begins in 1990 when I was born on April 22nd, which is ironically Earth Day. I was born in Wyoming, Pennsylvania, well, Kingston, theoretically, because of the Nesbitt Hospital, where I grew up in Wyoming for the first 16 years of my life. And then went to Wyoming Seminary. I moved over to Pittston, to the other side of the river,
over the
Great Divide there. And I lived in Hughestown before going to University of Scranton, and where I got my business administration degree. So I don't think I made it 12 miles from most likely where I was conceived. I haven't confirmed that location yet, but I didn't make it very far. I love Northeastern Pennsylvania. I've been here for the duration. I had an opportunity to go to Drexel, actually, and then I chose University of Scranton, as I'm sure we'll go into some more detail as this progresses tonight, as to why and how I remained here.
Yeah, so go ahead. Let's go into that.
All right. Well, we figured out my birth, so we can transition right into where we are today, and I'll tell you a little bit about our company and what we do, and everything. A family business. You're in a family business, so the pinnacle of a family business all kind of stems back to the same organization and the same lifestyle, and then everything branches off of that behind that. So I'm actually the president and CEO of Kuharchik Construction. We are a third generation electrical contractor, but we're not the kind of electrical contractor that's going to do light bulbs or ceiling fans. We do traffic signals, intelligent transportation systems, airport lighting systems, 5G, storm recovery distribution work, decorative streetscape revitalization. So the things that you don't think about every day, but you in essence take for granted. So
sounds really complicated.
It is, but it's not. As systems have progressed now, they're becoming smarter and smarter. Traffic signals are connected. As you're progressing through an intersection, your Bluetooth signal is being tracked by intersection as you progress. So when you go onto Google Maps and tells you 12 minutes to 276, there's multiple different data points that are generating that travel time. There's user-generated content, but as well as if you have an Easy Pass detector up on your hood of your car, that's also tracking you as you progress down the road. So traffic signals, you would like to believe, back in the day, were very simple electromechanical, gear-based driven items. Actually, how we got into traffic signals is a funny story. We should probably frame the hammer. But my grandfather started, he was an IBW electrician. And he got a call from a friend who was the county engineer at the time, and a traffic signal in wilkes-barre was not working. And he goes, "Hey, Wally, can you come down here and take a look at it?" And he goes, "Okay." And he went down, he hit the controller cabinet with a hammer. And ever since then, he fixed the traffic signal. And ever since then, we've been doing traffic signals. Obviously, that technology has progressed drastically since that time. But what was the problem was a gear was stuck and had rusted over, and it just needed a little extra shake.
Nudge.
Well, sometimes when you have to, if I'm ever on life support, unplug me and plug me back in, and just like try to reset, do a system
just tap
reboot.
You on the head a little.
That's it. Hit me with the hammer.
Yeah.
And that's really how traffic signals have progressed, and now they're just very complex systems that have internet connectivity, and they're complex, they're finicky. But at the end of the day, it's a red, yellow, and green system. There's about 14,000 intersections in the state of Pennsylvania, and we've adopted the philosophy of moving Pennsylvania smarter.
How do you do that?
Move Pennsylvania smarter?
Yeah.
Well, think about when you are driving down a road, driving down, Wyoming Avenue, and the feeling that you get when you see a bunch of green lights, or like the movie The Italian Job, and like how they're sitting in the traffic control center and they're controlling all the traffic signals so they can rob a bank. I'm not encouraging you to rob a bank by any means here.
But you have the means to do that. Should we cut that out?
We don't. No, we're not. Technology isn't there just yet. Down in cities, it's getting very close. But what it's actually picking up is volume density and actual traffic commuting along a certain route. And what it's doing is it's keeping traffic moving faster and more efficiently. So also when it comes to emergency services, there's preemption devices that will actually allow traffic signals to remain green or transition to red to stop opposing intersecting lanes. So an ambulance or a police car. And if you ever look at a police car or an ambulance, you'll see a quick flashing light on the front. That's a preemption emitter. And what that's actually doing is telling the traffic signal that there's an emergency vehicle progressing through, and that needs the priority.
Change the light.
There's also, they're implementing this stuff onto trains now. There's GPS enabled systems. There's also acoustic systems. So you'll hear an ambulance with a really low frequency in their siren. That's actually triggering traffic signals as well.
Wow.
Smart.
Did not know that.
Right? You'll think about traffic signals differently, and I hope all of your listeners will have a little more appreciation for a traffic signal.
Yeah. All right. Well, while we're on this topic, is there any other tips or tricks or anything? Like, I feel like sometimes when you get stuck at a light, and is there a lot of times is there I don't know what a thing like pointing at you, people nudge up? Like, does it help you turn the light?
Great point, Bill. So it's kind of there's a couple questions.
I really butchered that.
No, you didn't, because it's like, what the hell? Like, how do you make a traffic signal work?
Yeah.
When it says seriously stop here on red, it's not lying to you.
There's a reason.
There's absolutely a reason. And most traffic signals have inductive loop systems. Basically, they're wires that are cut into the asphalt that will detect the presence of a vehicle. That lets the brain of a traffic signal know, saying, hey, there's a car here. Cue this up to sequence. But also, if you're driving around specifically this area, you'll see a lot of cameras on the top of traffic signals. They are not red light cameras. Like down by the courthouse, right on River Street, you'll see some cameras. They are not red light cameras. What they are is the presence detection cameras. And what they're actually doing, just like a Ring doorbell, when you get a notification that there is, maybe this is a plug for Ring here, but you get a notification that there's motion or activity. That's basically what it's also doing. But instead of having to cut it into the asphalt, it's actually being detected just through like a CCTV camera. Also in lanes, there's different phases. So if there's a left-hand turning lane, there's a straight lane or a right-hand turn lane, all of that stuff will be calculated based off of the density. So back to the original part of that question, the Pennsylvania legislature implemented a law. It's called the Ride on Red. And it was designed because of motorcycles not having enough metal or a large enough footprint to detect the presence. So motorcycles, mopeds, or some vehicles are sitting there for watching the lights cycle and cycle and cycle, and people are like, well, this thing's broken. So there's actually legislation out there that will provide adequate defense if you run a red light, as long as you exercise due diligence and prudency, that you can actually run that red light.
That the light wouldn't change and you're like, screw it, I'm going.
It's not a malfunction, but sometimes the traffic signal just doesn't know that you're there. And then you have to call Kuharchik Construction, and then we come out and,
obviously
repair that for you in a jiff.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the explanation.
Sure. Don't hire me to be an expert witness if, you decide to get T-boned in that process.
Right. Okay. Yeah. The legal note there.
Right. Yeah. Disclaimer, asterisk.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's go back a little bit. So, did you grow up around the family business?
My entire life. I remember being 5 and 6 years old, and my grandfather would have me out on a piece of equipment, or operating a skid steer, or learning, trying to make me wire up my front porch when we were doing an addition on my house. And I quickly learned that I am not very crafty when it comes to trade. I tried really, really hard. And I'll tell you a fun story, because I was young. My grandfather was like, oh, this is the ground wire and this is the hot wire. And I'm like, okay, great. So recently my swimming pool had a GFCI breaker fail in the garage. And I'm like, all right, I'm an electrical contractor. Like I could
do this. Right? Yeah.
So I go outside. I got my tool belt on. Really, all I needed was a screwdriver. But I was armed for bear.
You geared up.
Armed for
geared
bear.
up.
And I get it, and I'm like, I get the new outlet in, and I turn it on, and now because there's a pump, this is all retroactive knowledge. There's a pump, so apparently when you connect the wires in the wrong direction, it makes the pump spin the other way. So I turned the skimmer box into a geyser.
Oh, wow.
And then I immediately called somebody that was way more qualified to perform that task.
A homemade geyser.
Not ideal for a swimming pool.
That's
not
exciting.
Really great at all.
Yeah. Were you able to shut it off? Like,
it was a little bit of a frantic, cool under cabin pressure, fight or flight response. But I did have the wherewithal to get to the breaker and flick the breaker. I'm like, all right, at least basic 101 here in Boy Scouts.
Yeah, shut it off. Yeah, cut the power.
But I was so proud of myself going in, and I was so excited. I'm like, I'm going to do this, because it was like a Sunday morning. I wanted to hang out at the pool, and I obviously respect our employees' personal time. And I'm like, I don't really want to call someone here for a breaker, but I tried to diagnose it. I really went through the steps. And I did not get to the outcome I so hoped.
Yeah. So what did you start out doing at the company as a kid?
When you're in a family business, you wear whatever hat comes around. I just remember, when I was young, I would just be hanging out with my grandfather. He would take me to job sites and, work, just being around it all the time. Just, it's really weird looking back and watching the progression of our company and the philosophies and how things have changed. It's just the industry in and of itself. But really my first task was I was working in the warehouse. I had to be 7 or 8 years old. And I think my grandfather paid me 40 cents an hour or something. And I'm like, okay, great. And I remember he had me like conduit that ultimately ends up in the ground, buried with dirt. He gave me a razor blade and told me to strip all of the UPC codes off of conduit. And I'm like, this is a really meaningful task. I'm so excited. And now looking back at it, I'm like, what was I doing? Like, this is the biggest waste. Like, you're burying it in the ground. It's getting covered with dirt. So maybe he had a sneaky idea as to why, like maybe learning the value of hard work and, you know, being around it. And I don't know, trusting a 7-year-old with a razor blade. I'm not sure how that would fly in today's times, but that was it. And I would just stay there for hours. And I just loved being out in the trenches, literally and figuratively. I was always playing in sandboxes on heavy equipment. You know, I was able to drive and operate equipment before I can even reach the pedals. And, I remember being 13, 14 years old, out plowing snow around the building. And really where things started to transition was, I actually took over when I was 19 as a chief financial officer. So that was 2009. While I was going to the University of Scranton, and why I chose not to go to Drexel and go to Philadelphia.
Oh, is this the story?
Yeah, this is kind of like the meat and potatoes to, I had an exit plan.
All right, let's go.
And it was halted quickly. And really, 2008 was absolutely horrible. Remember, the whole tech boom and financial collapse. And, 2008 was great for us because we really, electrical is always like the first one in and then the last one out. And then 2009 came around. And at this point, my grandparents were getting older. And, we were growing slowly but surely. And there was just I just said, well, geez, what, started looking at things and I realized, oh my gosh, like we have a lot of work to do. And I had the opportunity, like I said, to go to Drexel. But what was, I would say, the most fascinating, element of it was I was 19 and I had cool hair. And trying to generate, although I've been around the business my entire life, some of the problems were a lot larger than, I can wrap my head around. Like, I can't read a book to understand, 179 depreciation. Well, I guess I theoretically could, but trying to understand it in real life terms and figure out a way to pay for
apply it in business.
Sure. Or when you're dealing with general contractors who have suffered terrible because of a financial collapse, and they're holding hundreds of thousands of dollars from you, and you have vendors and payables, and you need equipment, and you have to produce orders, and bonding and surety and all of the other elements that go into it. And the deal with my grandmother was I had to get a 4-year college degree from an approved university of her choosing before I can begin to buy the company from my grandparents. And I went to the University of Scranton, and at that point, I was going into the office at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd go to an 8 o'clock class. I would come back to the office, go back, and I also played on the golf team, so that was kind of my healthy outlet there, my venting release. And then the next day, I would do it all over again. And it really, the first couple of years, was just getting a handle on I saw it in the field. I see what a traffic signal is. I see what intelligent transportation systems are. I see the people that we have. And at that point, we had about 51 people. And just trying to develop a rapport, going from first generation to third generation, and trying to get people to believe in your mission. And we made a lot of changes. We were strapped financially. So we would sell 4 trucks to buy 1. And then we would buy 2 trucks and, sell 4. It was a constant cycle, and technology was evolving. The equipment was getting more and more expensive. So trying to find a way to stay competitive against competitors when we're trying to compete in different markets was challenging. And trying to attract and retain these employees and these people. The only reason I'm here is we have awesome people. They're absolutely incredible. I'm just happy to be a part of steering the ship and being able to be in a position to make the financial investment and reinvestment so we can continue to grow in a very steady, organic way.
It's awesome.
It's been fun.
Yeah. So you came into a lot. There was a lot going on.
Couldn't even have a Coors Light, and we had 51 employees.
Yeah. So, all right. So you were 19 years old.
Yeah, that was when I took over as CFO.
And how did you
do it?
Power
of the purse.
How did you figure it all out?
You could throw it in the fire, you burn, Bill. It's the best way to do it. It's getting to the trenches and get wet and get kicked and get back up. And luckily, the same people that a lot of our management team were there, but we suffered, my grandparents were getting older. There was just a lapse of kind of intermediary guidance and leadership within the company, that middle management level. So over the last few years, we've been building out that middle management team, and now they're rock stars. So I always use the expression, if I walk outside, I get ran over by a bus, you guys will be fine. So now the idea is to, move away from playing checkers and start playing chess. How do we get, we got to this level. We went from 51 employees, and in March we'll be up to about 140 employees. So, okay, we got here. So now how do we get to 300 employees and 400 employees? And then, what's a calculated risk? When is enough? And when do you start to deviate from your flight plan and make horizontal integration or vertical integration? Do we buy suppliers? Do we buy, different subcontractors? Or do we infiltrate those markets? Something that's very new to us is the 5G cellular networks, and it's huge. It's been a big boom. And we infiltrated that because of traffic signals. 5G is a really interesting topic because they're made to blend into their environment.
I need to know more about this 5G stuff. What kind of info you got?
We got 5G info. We got 5G info. But what's really fascinating is they just you won't even notice a 5G antenna. They're placed on top of traffic signals. They're placed on top of, lighting fixtures. And the idea is some of them even look like trees. Like you drive by them on the turnpike, you would have no idea. And 5G is coming a long way. It's almost like a giant Wi-Fi router network inside of your house. Like if you have multiple different access points, that's in essence what they are. If you have a building in Philadelphia and you want to go around the building, you need to put up 4 or 5 different wireless access points. So because of glass and the low band frequencies, it doesn't travel very well. So 5G is coming in. It's coming in hot. It's fast, but it's also invasive because you have to cut up concrete. It's still an electrical system, and all of these nodes do work together. So that's been a very heavily. It's a growing industry for sure. It's getting big.
So what is 5G going to do for you guys?
Well, it's not just going to do it for us. It's going to be for everybody. Eventually, you're not going to have a modem or a router inside of your house. You're not going to have a coaxial cable running through your living room. Everything ultimately will be through Wi-Fi of some degree. And what will happen is they'll be able to tether and monitor your data usages and sell you different packages based off of consumption. And Verizon invested over $5 billion into their build out. The problem is in cities it works. In rural northeastern Pennsylvania, driving through the mountains of Shikshini, you're not going to put up a 750 Wi-Fi 5G Wi-Fi node system. It's just not going to happen. So there's a geographical limitation, and there's other 5G. It's more of like a 4G like you would see on normal antennas, but at least the 5G systems that we're doing in a lot of the urban environments, you're going to see them be more and more prevalent. Actually, Wilkes-Barre has a system right on Franklin Street near Wilkes University, and that technology is constantly evolving.
Nice. All right, so all right, you got involved super young, 19, 20, 21, graduate college. Then what?
We were off to the races. It really transitioned and allowed me to do a lot of other elements of my life that I do now. It allowed me to pursue the passions of real estate. It allowed me to pursue the passions of, my nonprofits and giving back into different organizations that I really do believe in. And now is actually getting out of college was the easy part. Obviously juggling everything, but that's really where you get to the real world where the meat and potatoes of life start to happen. So I sacrificed a lot of my 20s to be able to be where I am, at 31.
What did you sacrifice? Talk about it.
Whew. What did I sacrifice?
Besides your cool hair that you talked about earlier.
And I think it's going to come back. I really do. I don't know. Just having to maintain this it's just a lot.
It's too much.
Yeah, I just want to go whip my head after a shower and just let my hair down, literally and figuratively.
All right. So you sacrificed your hair. What else?
When you're growing up and you're responsible for running a multi-million-dollar business, the focal point of, it's not going to be, I'm not going out on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night when I'm at Scranton or in college. I could have fun, I could have my friends, but there's a lot more on my line at that point. What you have to lose was our family. We were started in 1973. So one screw up of me put a lot of pressure on, making sure I stayed on a straight and narrow path, which I didn't have a problem doing. But, you're 21, 22 years old. It's a different reality. It's a different world. And obviously maintaining the respect and the dignity of the people that are everything a part of your company. And I think looking back at it, those people are still with us. And I think as a testament to, again, it's not me. It's empowering the people that we have within our organization. I mean, these people have been with us for longer than I've been alive. Seriously. I mean, Ahmed, our project estimator, chief engineer, has been with us since 1989. So he remembers me being born, and he's still here. And he was just saying, I'm not going to live to 120, you know? So it's,
yeah.
And that's what allowed me to pursue my real estate passions. I remember it was 2015. My partner of real estate, Ryan Carpenet, and we were sitting at his house. He lived on 8th Street, and we watched a multi-unit across the street get a for sale sign hammered in the ground. And I said, and that was all his idea. And he goes, let's go buy that. And I said, I don't know I said, I build roads and bridges and highways and traffic. I don't know anything about this. And he's a plumbing contractor, Carpenet Plumbing and Heating. And so we walked across the street. We called the number on the real estate sign. And we bought our first duplex for $68,000 in 2015. It was actually before I even bought my own first home. We had our first 2-unit multifamily. So during the closing, we said, we should really kind of figure out what we're going to do. So we signed up. We went to realtor school with Pennsylvania Real Estate Academy, and it was so much fun. They should be teaching that in high school. Seriously, how to navigate a sales agreement or like a rental agreement, a lease of some sort. Like that stuff should be taught in high school.
I agree.
How to interpret a deed.
There's a lot of stuff that's not taught in high school that you need to do every day.
Every day. And that's why junior achievement and financial literacy programs are so imperative to overall organizational and, childhood literacy. I mean, that stuff is imperative. And we'll talk about some of the nonprofits later and why I'm, what I invest my time and energy into. And I believe you can really make a difference by providing the proper education from a financial literacy element and not just, obviously there's a lot of different needs, but knowing that you can go to the bank to get a loan for your car and not just take the loan that the auto dealership is giving you at 11.5%, and I can go get that same loan for 3.5%. Like that is how you exist as a human. Like that is basic 101.
Yeah.
So we bought our first multifamily. It was a 2-unit for $68,000. We went to real estate school and we rented it. We rented the top floor. It was like, we got it for like $695 a month. We were so excited. And then we renovated the first floor. You could probably drop a marble in the middle of the floor and the ball will just roll off the wall, but we got it done. That's what counts. And then we bought another place and we bought another place. And then, all of a sudden, 6 years into the process, we have 50 doors and 14 storage units, and it's been an incredible journey. And, I'm the guy that goes on the spreadsheet. I'll tell you what our ROI is. I'll tell you how much the insurance is. Like I can do that kind of those elements. But again, you heard my story about trying to fix something. If it wasn't for Ryan on the HVAC side and the plumbing and dealing with people, tenants, and I locked myself out at 2:30 in the morning on a Saturday or a Sunday morning. So bless his soul on that. I mean, but it was a great partnership because I'm able to do, I'm the bad cop. He's the good cop. I'm the one that sends an Instagram when you're 3 months late on your rent after we begged and pleaded and said, hey, please pay us. We have a mortgage. Like we really need
we got to pay it.
We have to pay. So can you please pay us? But that's been a really fun journey as well. And that's a lot of passion. And that's also then transitioned into my real estate development that I have going on in Pittston. I was never a crafty person. My fine motor skills never fully developed, I guess, when it comes to coloring inside of the lines. My mother was telling me, she's like, oh my God, I felt like such a failure watching you do like a coloring book. So I like to say like my buildings and my developments it's kind of my creative outlet. I'm probably the worst developer ever because I do it the way I want it done. And like, I like as if I was going to live there, like I want granite countertops and I want really cool lights and I want comfort height color toilets. And so I do the things like that's my creative outlet.
It's creative. Yeah.
That is my creative outlet.
Yeah.
I want a really cool black facade on this building that, it's cost a fortune, but we could just do stucco for like a third of the price. No, do the black. And but it's cool to see a finished product that you can really, sink your teeth into and be proud of. And that's, we have about 40,000 square feet on Main Street in Pittson. We recently acquired, actually, this is one of my own undertakings was the Pittson Projects.
Yeah. Talk about it.
So we bought a condemned, unfit for human occupancy building. Well, I did. One of my entities, RPB Ventures. And it was, oh my God, I saw a petrified rat. It had to be bigger than this hard hat. Now that we're on video, I can use this as a size comparison.
Show it, yeah. Hold it up next to your head.
I mean, it was a big dead rat, man.
Okay,
like, it was
dead.
Oh my God, it was petrified.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Actually, the analogy before, there was velociraptors when Darren was in high school.
Yeah.
This thing comes from that era. And, it was encroaching on the back alleyway. The power system had to be redone. I mean, it was a complete gut. So I said, okay, but it's a beautiful building. It's right in the heart of downtown Pittson, and I love what downtown Pittson's doing. Full credit to the Redevelopment Authority, Mayor Lombardo, Mary, Jimmy Zara, Clush, all of those guys. I mean, they have been doing this for 25 years.
They're doing a hell of a job.
Awesome. And I mean, that's the definition of how a public-private partnership should work. And they're fearless when it comes to getting rid of buildings that don't belong. And that wasn't something that just happened overnight. That was a long 2.5 decades in the making. And they had the alignment from the right people that all had the same destination in mind. And I'm really excited to be a part of the tail end, totally drafting off of their success, because I remember when I was young driving home, I didn't want to be in Pittston. The place was on fire like 3 days a week. And it was just, it was bad. I mean, it was bad. It was not great. And the where it's at now is really exciting. The community programming that they have going on between the St. Patrick's Day Parade, the restaurant on the river, the Tomato Festival, they are always concocting a new way to get people into the city. And, I want the idea to be live, work, play, and eventually stay in Pittson. So we had the Black Building. It was a complete menagerie, giant petrified rats. So we started going through it. I ripped off 35 by 60 off of the back, and then realized I needed to do a roof. So, in my infinite wisdom, I said, well, let's just add a third floor. Whew. Well, we added a third floor. Again, why I'm the worst developer ever.
Yeah. Instead of just replacing the roof, just add a whole nother level.
I think my return on investment on that building is going to be like 120 years, but it's going to look really cool when it's all said and done.
Well, at least you're young.
I think at this day and age, I can make a. You think I got another 100 in me?
Yeah, you can make a go out of it, I think.
I think I'll sign my final note. We did this all just by self-financing it as well. And I bought this building for $60,000. And I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna be great. I think I'm $1 million into it at this point. Completely lost control. But we were so close to being done. Toilets back ordered. The garage door 6 months. Door handles and cabinets and fire suppression systems, like the most random things, and the delay because of COVID and material and just the backlog of trying to get this stuff. I mean, flooring, just the most random things. So you can't get to C until you go through B, but B 6 months. And, COVID happens and, we have to dig up the street. Well, the street cut permit has expired. So we're going to have 4 multifamilies and 1 commercial storefront. So anybody listening wants to be in an absolutely gorgeous, stunning building on Main Street in Pittson with parking, we'd love to have you.
With parking.
That was key.
Yeah.
And which leads me to my next acquisition was the former Landmark Bank building.
Yeah.
Which is
exciting.
That's a good one too. That's what I want to make the hotel. Honestly, I'm in the long-term vision of Pittson. That's really what I would like it to be. Because there's nowhere to stay if you come to downtown Pittson. Now you start talking about converting, hotel into 27 rooms, and now you're talking building out 27 beds and 27 kitchens and 27 bathrooms. I mean, you're talking, it could be $4.5 million. And I think the city is right on the cusp, so we'll be ready to go when that time comes. But we have parking for both buildings, so that's important.
Yeah.
67 spots.
Yeah,
so that's great news. But for the time being now, we're going to make it into commercial office space. It's going to, range from different suites from 400 square feet to, over 6,000. You can take the entire floor. I'm going to move some of our ancillary operations, like our e-commerce department and some of our real estate holding entities and Wyoming Electric and Signal. We're going to move a couple, shift some of our ancillary offices into the 3rd floor because it's got a great view. And it's a really unique building. It's built in it goes back to the 1800s, and they don't build buildings like that anymore.
No, not
this
anymore.
roof. This roof was good. I don't need to add a 5th floor to this building. This roof was good.
Staying at 4.
We're staying at 4. Really cool basement. It actually has like a nuclear fallout shelter in
the basement.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I got to see this.
It's so cool. I took somebody on a tour there the other day, and they spent more time in the basement just looking at all the old wiring on the alarm systems, and I'd love to take you over. It's really cool.
We're going right after this.
Let's do it.
All right, I kind of want to go back before earlier you mentioned like the pressure of business and with how young you were. Like how did you deal with that pressure?
You don't have a choice. I mean, you pick yourself up by the bootstraps and you just roll with it. You channel it into, being positive, and that the pressure motivates me. Growing up, I played ice hockey. I was a goalie. Like, I lived for pressure. Like, it was you let something through your 5-hole, you're a zero. You make a glove save, you're a hero. But you're just motivated because it's your family. It's it's how my grandmother is going to feed herself. It's how my dad and my mom and my sister are going to be able to pay for gas for their vehicles. And it's not just my family. I mean, these people that I work with every day, I see more than my own family. And I'll tell you, you're in family business. It is full contact. It is full contact every single day.
Gloves off. Sometimes.
I noticed your boxing gloves over there.
Yeah.
I was thinking I might need them for.
I'll let you borrow them
for my grandfather's birthday. Because
for the next family dinner. I'll let you borrow those quick.
One day I'm going to write a book, and I've always been keeping my memoirs of family business survival from the conference room to the dinner table. Because so many times, you're having an argument, just like Pittson, everybody has the same trajectory or the same destination, but how you get there is so drastically different. Blue is a different shade of blue for everybody and all the stakeholders in the business. And what we've been very lucky is, I've been able to make that final cut decision in the process, but I'm also aware that I don't have all the answers. Just like me trying to wire up my swimming pool.
Geyser.
Complete epic failure. But I recognize that, you don't have the answers for everything, and you need help and you need people. And a good leader knows when not to lead and when to say, hey, this is going to be your baby. You run with this. So you would talk about pressure, and you talk about, looking at watching people who have worked with you for so long depend on your business to feed their families and their lineage. And now you start to see the employees that were, in their 40s when I started, now have kids that have come into the business, and their brothers and their sisters. And I think that's a testament to our culture and our dynamic, because if we were just a crap place, I don't think they would be bringing their offspring into working with us. So I think that's a testament to the organization and the family in which we have. I mean, we say we hire to retire. I mean, we've literally had people work and leave on a Friday and unfortunately pass away Friday night. I mean, they were 78, 9 years old. And it was, it's a testament of, they liked what they do. And I think we empower people to make their own decisions and be invested in their own result. A foreman we had in Philadelphia, his name was Dennis, and he was diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer. And he was a younger guy, but he would drive around. He'd make his wife. Now we find out he had his wife driving our company truck around with him sitting in the passenger seat, going out to job sites, checking on things, and talking about how he'd be going on a family vacation down to the Jersey Shore. Like, I did that traffic signal, and that was mine too. I did that pedestrian pole.
Yeah, he was proud of it.
Yeah, and they see it's the same thing now when I'm driving through or hearing my grandfather's story. My grandfather started this business with a station wagon and a ladder. He was doing, wiring grocery stores. So to go from him and one other electrician to, now 145 people, it's quite the story of just hard work and dedication. And yeah, I mean, one of my expressions in life is, to whom much is given, much is expected. Although I was given a lot of responsibilities, and I'm the first one to admit I started on base. My bucket had a hole in it, and we were actively patching that bucket, but I still was, I'm so incredibly blessed of where my foundation was and the instrumental people that I had to surround myself while I was growing up and seeing how they think and how they operate. But when you go home and you have an employee who has a son who's battling an addiction, and you feel that, you take that inside with you, and that eats you up because you feel for that person. And I think empathy is really important to understand and feel that other people are just people, and people are very fascinating, and it's nothing that you don't have a choice. You have to find a way to come up with a solution because people are depending on you, or you have to find a way to concoct or create a solution to a problem. And that's what I think leadership is all about. And again, if I didn't have the support team around me, we're coming up with simple solutions to complex problems because we're all talking about the solution together, or the problem or the challenge. And we're relying on 5 different perspectives, and then we're coming up with the right answer. And I think about collaboration and teamwork. And that's why, like, working remote, I was not a fan of that. I like the office environment. I like being in the trenches. I like being able to walk out and talk to, our bookkeeper or accounts receivable people or our project management team, because, we did shut down for about 60 days. I don't want to say we shut down. Traffic signals are pretty essential, we found out.
Yeah, they got to stay working.
Yeah, intelligent transportation system, CCTV cameras.
Can't go off.
They need that.
Yeah.
And at first, the waiver process, we're like, I don't know. Do you want your a tractor trailer just careen through an intersection in Wilkes-Barre Township? It's laying in the middle of the road. So you let us know what you want us to do.
We'll go
here.
pick it up. Yeah.
You want my papers? I'll show you my papers. But and then they're like, oh yeah, just go fix that. So that I remember having to break the news that we were being essentially shut down for 60 days, and the hysteria that went inside of our office. And our controller, he goes, well, Rob, I'm 43 years old. I've never been laid off a day in my life, but I guess this is the first day. And then we had an internal meeting and we decided that we're going to keep our core group in, and actually people were still cycling coming through, and obviously we were able to spread out far enough inside of our office, and it was uncertain times. And I'll tell you, we stayed working. I mean, we were still bidding projects. We were still, we were significantly reduced, but the panic of just not knowing, what about my health insurance? Am I going to be, if I get sick, can I go to the hospital? And we fronted that. We took care of that for all of our people, even during the layoff period. And everybody came back. And actually just recently we had an entire COVID situation in the office, and I was answering the phones. We do what we got to do. And in a family business, in a small organization, it's pick yourself up by the boots and go to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does your role look like? Every
day's different. Sometimes you're talking to somebody who's going through, a tragic situation within their family, and other days where, I'm sitting down negotiating multi-million-dollar contracts with, general contractors. Sometimes I'm, dealing with litigation or challenges relevant to employees. Sometimes, I'm strategically thinking about how do we, expand our footprint? What kind of equipment do we need to be more efficient? How do we work the bonding and the surety element, insurances? How can we be competitive there? Should we look to acquire a piece of real estate in a different demographic, or, how can we move bases? You're always kind of thinking of, maybe I want cool branded hard hats. Literally every day is always different. And that's what's exciting. That there's no 2 days ever the same. It's not, okay, I'm going to wake up, be there at 7:00. I'm going to do spreadsheets for an hour. And then, I'm going to go for my lunch. I might wake up and say, we had a truck just ran into a deer and threw a carcass onto a mail truck. That's literally a phone call. That's what happens. And it's, okay, what do we do? Who's handling it? And then it's delegating and building up that middle management team, so you have the support to deal with the crisis. And it's always standing behind the people that ultimately at the end of the day are in your trenches.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So I'm wondering myself, and I'm sure a lot of other people are too that are listening and or watching now, since now you can watch this show. But how do you manage to do all the stuff that you do?
I don't know. I think you're just wired like this. I'm a nightmare to go on a vacation with. If you put me on a beach, I'm a nightmare. Oh my God, I have to be so difficult, because I can't just, my worst nightmare is being on a beach. I hate it. Why?
Just because you don't want to sit still?
No, absolutely not. You got to put me hiking. I'm like a 7-year-old. You got to let me go climb a mountain, or go play on I can't sit still. So, like a Labrador Retriever without a tennis ball, just bouncing around.
Yeah.
So how do you, I just think people are wired in certain capacities, and, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. But that's why, but I also understand that I was given such an amazing opportunity that I don't want to say I don't have a choice, but I want to be able to give back to other people the same way that I was given, and obviously through different capacities and means. That's why actually we met through, we've known each other, but it was Big Brothers Big Sisters for kids' sake.
Yeah.
And
you recruited me.
I did, and I brought you into the vortex.
Yeah, you did.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was.
I love Big Brother. I think, again, that's a tangible organization with tangible results.
Yeah, so talk about that, because before you mentioned a little earlier, you wanted to kind of touch on that your involvement in the community and certain organizations, and you have reasoning behind why you're involved in such organizations.
So Big Brothers Big Sisters, is a great organization. That is a direct end user tangible impact. And we're always looking for big brothers. Actually, I'm no longer on the board for Big Brothers Big Sisters. I recently transitioned off. I felt that I served my time. I saw through the transition from Catholic Social Services to us becoming an independent agency. And, I thought that it was time for somebody to bring a new set of ideas to the table. I don't want to be an empty suit. That's not my style. That's not who I am. Like, that is blasphemy in my mind. So I think I heard your name may be getting thrown around in some different places.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. We'll see how your editing is on this podcast.
Yeah. So we'll have to decide if we'll keep that or not.
So Big Brothers Big Sisters, again, like tangible, like direct impact. I also serve as the president of the SPCA of Luzerne County. I like giving a voice to the voiceless. Although I don't have any animals, or it's hard to keep up with my lifestyle when it comes to being on the go. I'm also allergic to pretty much anything that's with fur or alive.
Fur or alive.
I'm working on a succulent. A succulent has been a dragon tree succulent. This has been my assignment.
That's what you have alive right now?
Barely.
Oh, okay.
So it's hanging on by a fingernail, but I'm trying my best.
Okay.
I feed it. I give it Diet Coke. It doesn't like Diet Coke. I don't know why.
Well, you would think, you like Diet Coke. You would think that it would like Diet Coke too.
I thought aspartame would really enhance its growth.
I guess it didn't.
It did not.
It did not work.
It's not. But one is growing like a weed. It's incredible.
So you have a one growing really well and then one not so good.
A complete sin, Bill. It's a complete sin what I did to that one succulent. It's an absolute
God.
sin. I tried, though.
We'll have to have a burial.
Maybe one day. Maybe when it gets a little bit warmer out.
Yeah.
So another organization is a Catholic Youth Center. A 24-hour daycare center just really provides a place of refuge for a lot of people within the community. The swimming pool facilities, the early childhood education programs, just has been a fixture in our community for a long time. It's a very old, tired building, but we're working on making some awesome improvements. The team at the CYC, they really take care of a lot of people, and I just like to be able to support. I like trying to make a difference at an early age, or providing people the resources for education or for a place, for a sense of place within a community. And growing up, I went to Wyoming Seminary, but I grew up in Wyoming area. And my mom, growing up, my dad, developed film. My mom would work like bowling birthday parties. My mom actually, really interesting story. She was going to be a pilot, a commercial pilot. That's what she was going to do. I don't know if she's going to appreciate me. Like she doesn't have Facebook or Instagram, so she probably doesn't even know I'm here. But she was like, she actually could fly before she could actually drive a car. And she was going to be a commercial airline pilot. And the one day she was flying in New Hampshire, back before GPS and cell phones, and got lost in the mountains. Flying around New Hampshire just for hours, and then finally saw a blinking light and landed. And that pretty much ended her flying career.
That was it, huh?
That threw the towel in. And then she transitioned over to she went to Wilkes and got her sociology degree, and now she's an electrical contractor of some variation. So she questions how her path led to this intersection.
Well, it was that blinking light that she saw.
It was. That's it, Bill. I'm going to relay that message. I'm going to give her a sense of purpose and trajectory.
Definitely. Yeah.
Wow. She's going to love that tonight. She's going to thank me. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, she's going to thank me too, probably.
That green and white light.
Yeah.
So, the community, this is where we've been for our entire life. I mean, our company was from 1973, and just seeing the progression, we're to whom much is given, much is expected. So the CYC, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, I serve on the board currently for Junior Achievement of Northeastern Pennsylvania. Again, financial literacy. That, you don't need to necessarily go to college to be able to be successful. The definition, based off of my grades and academics, Wyoming Seminary, probably thought I was going to be a felon. They probably thought I was going to have to rob a bank to eat. Seriously, I read some of my teacher transcripts, and I'm on the alumni council for Wyoming Seminary, but we're going to have a conversation about that soon.
We got to send me these transcripts.
Not good. No, retroactively, D+ in English wasn't exactly great, which I think I'm a great writer now too. So anyway, I'm not really, but mediocre.
It turned out okay.
Better than my grades indicated.
You improved.
So childhood education, financial literacy, and just being able to make an impact at an early age. I think that's the most impactful time of someone's life is, that 0 to 6. That's where you're learning really how to exist as a human. Sure, you're a father now. You're starting to see babies now are human. It does things.
It's wild.
I don't have any kids, so I don't. One day I aspire to that. I'm excited for that day, hopefully in the future. But I'm sure that's really exciting being a dad, and watching the development process. And so I asked somebody the other day, I was around the child, I'm like, when's a baby supposed to walk? Like, I don't know.
I still Google these things every day myself.
Do you really?
Yeah. All these milestones, I forget all the time. Me and my wife are both doing the same thing. We're like, I don't know, I forget. I just Google it again,
Oh, okay, so it's supposed to be walking.
Yeah,
that's
soon,
good.
in a couple months. Yeah. Yeah, he's getting there. He's almost starting to crawl.
He can grab things. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, good milestone check.
Yes.
Another board that I serve on is Tech Bridge. It's based out of Scranton, but it's about Northeast Pennsylvania entrepreneurship. And I was always an entrepreneur by trade. I think I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I'd be out at the corner selling snow cones. And people would like say to my mom and my dad, like, "What the heck are you doing?" He's like, he wants to go sell snow cones. I lived across the street from a park, so I had a wagon and I had a box of ice, and I'd go and sell snow cones. It was just
prime spot.
Oh yeah, position A.
Yeah.
Position A.
You were smart, yeah.
I was like 10 years, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old during the summer. I'd go and make like $60, $70.
Killing it.
It was great. I think I stuck my parents on like the actual like blue raspberry syrup that I had to buy, but I was catching paper, so that was good.
Yeah.
And that was kind of always like the hustle that I had. I grew up, I was snowplowed. I had a bunch of different snowplow accounts. I had a quad. I drive around, drive down the railroad tracks with the snowplow when I was 13, 14 years old. And it's just the hustle of work and ethic and, going out and doing things. So that's why I love, Tech Bridge I serve as a treasurer for. And, seeing people have new ideas, and I participate in the help sessions, and just seeing the energy of somebody who has this really cool idea, whether it's some kind of eye tracking moving, I don't even know what the heck this stuff is. But just hearing the energy and the passion of this new concept that someone's creating is like reinvigorating to me. And it gives me a whole new perspective. So shout out to Don Webster, Tech Bridge, and the whole team up there, because every time I leave a help session, I'm like, I got to do something. Like I go in harder than I was the day before.
Yeah. Great group up there.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah. And they have a podcast too.
They do.
So they can check it out.
They do have a podcast.
Yeah. I was on it myself at one point. Shout out to Don.
Yeah, I was on it many before COVID. A long
time
ago.
Me too. Yeah, many moons ago.
Many moons ago.
I was on it like 3 years ago or something.
What's
crazy.
The name of it?
Tech Bridge
Radio.
Tech Bridge Radio.
Right.
Yeah. It's on an FM station. I forget the name. I apologize. Forgive me. But the podcast, you can just look it up on any podcast platform, and you can catch the show there too. So yeah,
it's a good one.
It is.
And just the business plan competition, I believe it's scheduled for April of this year. It's back in person. It'll be back at the Kirby Center.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes and ears open for that. I served as the chair the prior 2 years. So, a month before the business plan competition, the world shuts down and we are ready to go. And because of the entrepreneurship vibes and spirit, we figured out a way to pull it off virtually, and to talk about adapting or die and coming into fruition and having an awesome event and really set the stage going forward. So another great, organization. I'm involved with the IBEW because I'm actually the chairman of the JATC, which is a Joint Apprenticeship Training Commission.
That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is. And I remember talking on this apprenticeship program, like, I don't know how to plug in an extension cord. I'm so terrible. But the idea is to make the next generation of electricians that go through a very vigorous process. And there's a lot of people, kids of all age, adults, that they go through these programs. They're coming out making $65,000, $75,000 a year with no formal college education. So that goes back to my original statement that trade is never going to go away. And just because of the perspective that you need to have this superior level of education, or you need to go to college and you need to do this, this, and this. I mean, I'm watching linemen. These are guys. They work their butts off. But the local 126 and 1319 and 163, these guys are providing awesome livelihoods for themselves. And it's not just a job, it's a career. And this is where you're getting an annuity, you're getting pensions. Some have pensions, some have, 401ks. These are good quality jobs that you're always going to need electricity.
Yeah.
Ever try to get water out of a well without electricity when your power goes out? It's one thing not to be able to watch TV.
Well, I know one way. We can go to your swimming pool.
True. Take your bucket and catch it out of the air.
Yeah.
But these are jobs. You're always going to need plumbers. You're always going to need electricians. You're always going to, there's no, should be no shame or any ill-conceived perception to take a career like that.
Trades, I think, got shit on, especially our generation. You and I can both, probably speak to this, we both went to college. But think back to high school, like the trades, like people just kind of got the shit end of the stick when, maybe they want to go on a trade, but they went to college instead.
Sure. Then you're a techer or.
Yeah, right.
And that's why I serve as the chairman of the JATC. I'm on the Health, Wellness, and Annuity Trustee, also with labor management. So again, giving back to the organization. I also sit on the board for National Electrical Contractors Association, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, which is basically the management organization of collectively bargained electrical contractors throughout the tri-state area. So I'm very invested in our trade and propagating our community through, some alliances. And obviously, you're sitting at a table, you're talking with your competitor who's just a giant thorn in your side. But at the end of the day, again, the same trajectory like family business, you know what's good for the industry, and you're all, trending in the right direction. Something right now we're fighting is, here's a good one, traffic signal sales tax. The Department of Revenue has started assigning sales tax on traffic signals.
Interesting.
So we're taxing taxpayer dollars.
Taxing a tax?
We're taxing a tax.
Is that a thing?
We're taxing an item that was paid for by tax dollars.
So it's like a double dip.
Totally. And unless you were audited, you don't know that you were assigned this tax. So we are marching Capitol Hill to get that reverse. And that's an exact example of a trade organization banding together to change that. We were the tip of the iceberg, and we've certainly taken a pretty hot pitchfork to make that change. But it's as an example of working together for the same trajectory.
Cool. So, all right, man. What's the future look like for Kuharchik, for Rob, the real estate, the snow cone business, the pool business?
I'm gonna go back to selling snow cones.
Are you?
I think I'm gonna go back to my
Much
Red
easier.
Ryder wagon. I'm gonna walk around town, and I'm just gonna play like a pre-recorded like Jackbox. Just try to sell snow cones. Listen, we just started. I'm a young guy. I'm very excited. I would like to continue to grow this out organically and inorganically. We just got one of the largest jobs in company history. It's going to be a 6-year project. It's down in the Philadelphia area. We're going to continue to expand our footprint into different geographical regions. We've just did a job for 5G cell networks down at Rehoboth Beach. I thought the guys were going to go to the beach and never come home, but it was a little too cold, so they still ventured back to Philadelphia. The real estate, we're going to continue to develop over in Pittson. I love Pittson. I think it's a great frontier. I think it's a great center point between Wilkes-Barre and Scranton. And we're going to continue to invest in the area, in the community. This is our home. It will always be my home. I love being here. I love leaving. But my favorite thing about vacationing is flying back into Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. I love it. I like my hobbies. And this is a great place to call home. It's a great place to raise a family. Trust me, it has its setbacks, as does any area, but we're 107 miles to the center city, New York, to Times Square, New York City. We're 111 miles to center city, Philadelphia. We have an international airport. You have the opportunities and means to vacation and see and educate yourself from being in different demographics, and then bring those resources back to northeastern Pennsylvania. It's an incredible opportunity to continue to grow. We are literally a hub of intersecting highways that we can hit a major quantity of people in a very short period of time. So Northeast Pennsylvania will continue to be where I lay my head at night, and I'll continue to reinvest in the community where I can.
Cool. How can our listeners connect with you online?
So I am I'm 31. I don't have Facebook and I don't have Instagram.
Yeah, which is interesting.
If I'm doing my public, we'll call it advocating for my public endeavors, I'm very public. But when it comes down to my private life, I'm relatively reserved and private. So I don't have Instagram. I like to move mysteriously. I don't have Facebook. I do have LinkedIn. You can get me on LinkedIn or via kuharchikconstruction.com. You can track me down that way. But you will not see pictures of my deteriorating succulent. You will not see geysers coming out of my swimming pool, unfortunately. So, but you will see some cool images of traffic signals and the brains of traffic signals, and us usually ripping up Philadelphia or cutting through some fun stuff. So I definitely encourage you to check it out. We love content. I think you'll like the image that we took for the thumbnail of this episode here today.
Yeah, absolutely. We took a couple cool photos of that giant ass traffic signal.
That's gonna be fun.
It is. which is way bigger in person than.
I want your listeners to think about that when they're driving down through an intersection or through down Wyoming Avenue or around the Wilkes-Barre Square or driving through Philadelphia. I want you to think about a traffic signal and the resources that go into that traffic signal. A traffic signal assembly is about $350,000 an intersection.
Wow.
So think about that.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Multiply that out along different roads and intersections and highways. Yeah, it's fun. Big Brother's always watching. For
sure. 5G.
Fast.
People are scared of it.
There's a big thing with the FAA and the airports and the final approach because of the radar sensing altimeter.
Oh, yeah.
That they wanted to move the distance back for the 5G cell nodes further from the actual landing zone. So they actually just recently got that resolved. So we're back to installing.
We're good.
We like that.
Good. All right, man. This has been a lot of fun.
Think so?
Yeah, I think.
You're not worn down? You're not sick of traffic signals?
No, we made it through the 100th episode. Eric's over there like packing his bags. Like he's ready to leave. I don't know what's going on, but
we didn't have any short circuits.
No, I think we made it. I think
Good.
I think we did it. And if you're listening right now on an audio only platform, go to youtube.com/onthestackspodcast and you can watch this episode and every episode going forward. And just in case anyone's scared, I'm not getting rid of the audio version. The audio versions will still exist going forward, but we're adding a whole new dimension to this show on YouTube.
I love it. I think it was
and you were the first.
Wow. You always have to have a first.
Yeah. I'm sad that you don't have the hair you used to have, but I mean...
Yeah, I'm not sweating too
it's
bad.
Even
Even this great light that I have up here, I'm holding my own.
I know. It's kind of like an interrogation, almost.
I don't know, Bill. This is a solid interview here.
Was it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you considering me worthy enough for the 100th episode.
Yeah.
And before we started, I told him I hope he took the insurance policy on the camera in case
in case you crack the lens.
In case I crack the lens or break the camera. But it looks and appears that everything is still functioning.
I think Eric's giving us a thumbs up. I think everything's working. So. Cool. All right, man. Rob Bresnahan, Kuharchik Construction, On the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door Studio. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Bill.
If you want to see more On the Stacks content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/onthestackspodcast or search the hashtag OnTheStacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on The Stacks.